Hey, Armand here with your astrology forecast for the week of November 9th, 2020. I'm going back to saying that the week starts on Monday. That's always been my feel. Sunday's kind of like an in-between day. We may talk about Sundays a little bit, but we'll start the week on Monday. And this is quite a week. This is one of, every week is quite a week, right? This is just normal now. Everything is going to have something in it. And there's a lot of dynamic astrology this week. So let's look at the week in an outline sort of form. Monday, Tuesday, and I would say probably Wednesday are your best bets for getting stuff done. It's the time when you have, let's say, the most freedom of movement with things. And the Virgo moon is going to be trying the Capricorn planets, trying Uranus. There's a sort of flexibility, a flow that is going to help. It's going to be sextile to the sun. We have a lot of, generally speaking, creative energy. Now, the moon is waning into Sunday, the 15th new moon. So we could say, okay, there's not going to be a ton of energy, but it may not be a bad thing lately, right? So, and then the latter part of the week, especially, let's call it Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and into Saturday, has a far more jangly kind of energy to it. We're likely to see things really moving on the collective level, but we'll also be feeling this very much in our personal lives. And then the weekend has the new moon. It's the new moon in Scorpio. It's a time of planting seeds for the future, but it's Scorpio, and you don't really know what you're planting for. This is a profound time of going inward and dealing with things on a very, very deep level, such that it's not necessarily the easiest thing to work with consciously. All right, now that we have the outline there, we have the outline. Let's look at the beginning of the week. Well, we had that Virgo moon waning. Good time to finish up business. It's a good time to, do inventory kind of stuff, balance the checkbook kind of thing, do some research. It's more or less it's a good time just to do cleaning and, you know, just wrapping stuff up. Virgo moon waning. Good time to wrap stuff up. Constructive aspects should work well. Now, there is an aspect on Monday that is kind of exciting, though, and that is Venus opposite Mars. Now, Venus, Catherine Urban pointed this out in NCGR's member letter, and boy, you should be a member of NCGR. Go to geocosmic.org and check it out. She pointed out that this year, Venus and Mars only make one harmonious aspect, and this is not it. So, Venus in Libra is pushing for form in relationship, whereas Mars in Aries is more driving for the passion. And Mars is very strong because he's going to station to go direct on Friday. And he's retrograde, which makes the energy powerful, if not necessarily expressed very easily. So we have a little bit of a kind of push-pull here between sort of like form and relationship, formality and passion. And even outside of the area of relationship, it is a kind of do we obey the rules? Do we mind our manners? Or do we really push hard for what we want? And there's that sort of seesaw tension there. It's going to be lit up again in midweek and beyond as the moon goes into Libra and again heats up this aspect. But we'll get the initial energy there right away on Monday. It's interesting too because for people who are in relationships, the Venus Mars aspect comes just a day after the Sun meets with partnership asteroid Juno in Scorpio. And that has a kind of just you and me, babe, kind of vibe to it. And then the very next day, we get some sort of opposing forces. It'd be interesting to see how that plays out for folks. Moving forward in the week, it is Thursday, but we'll be feeling it from Wednesday on. That sort of productive vibe, that, easygoing, helpful energy, sometime on Wednesday starts to give way as the conjunction of Pallas Athene, Jupiter, and Pluto in Capricorn takes place. And that's exact on Thursday. Now, as that aspect forms, it's going to form right at the same degree that Pluto and Saturn met in January. And this is the last big hurrah of that aspect. This is the last big, in a sense, it's the denouement. It's the end of the story. There's plenty of other stories going on, so don't worry. And actually, to tell you the truth, the epilogue of this one is going to last for quite some time. For example, as the Sun comes in and meets with Pluto next January. But this is the last major outer planet kind of conjunction. And it's interesting that in January, Ceres, the planet that, for want of a better word, and I know that folks who know better would not like this too much, but this sort of Earth Mother asteroid was conjunct Saturn and Pluto in January past. And this time around, it's Pallas Athene in there with Jupiter and Pluto. This really could play out in the whole scenario of the election and the court challenges. Pallas Athene tends to represent, as it shows up in the news, tends to represent a powerful, truth-telling female. And it would be interesting, I would say probably Kamala Harris in this case. Jupiter and Pluto certainly would be a power struggle in the courts. Jupiter has a lot to do with the courts, and it's in the sign of Capricorn. This is not Jupiter's. This is not a sign, not Jupiter in Sagittarius, where it's about the belief systems, and it's not the idealism of Aquarius, where he's headed soon. It's Capricorn. It's a business, pragmatic kind of thing. Be interesting to see how it plays out, and by interesting, I mean frightening. We'll have to see. This is again, it's a potentially explosive aspect, although happening as it is on the waning cycle of the new moon, I would call it an implosive aspect. Kind of pull the energy inwards. But some of that energy's got to get out, and there are decisions to be made, and there are things to be done. It's a bumpy time in the collective, and that means it could be a little bit bumpy for you personally. And it's especially hot because Mars stations to go direct on Friday the 13th. Now, whether or not you happen to be triskaidekaphobic, this Friday the 13th is going to have some very, very powerful energies that it may be hard to deal with. Mars is very powerful as he stations, and he's in his own sign of Aries, so there's this energy of anger, there's this energy of need for action, and not necessarily all that easy to externalize. So I would say that this is a time to be a little bit cautious about things. And, is it a good time to move projects forward because Mars is going to go direct? No. No, I mean, it speaks well for next week and beyond. But with Mars stationing, he's really not moving anywhere. So nothing's going on in terms of the martial energy Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. He's stopped. So that's not a good thing in terms of putting the energy to use. And then, of course, we're coming into Sunday's new moon. And so it's not really this kind of go forward sort of energy. It's much more a kind of, stop and wish that you could go forward sort of energy. The Sun will be brokering from Scorpio, will be brokering agreements between Pluto and Jupiter as the week ends by making a sextile from Scorpio. It's really sort of helping to sort out where the power is. Certainly true, like in the U.S. election type of thing. But it is also very true in terms of our own lives. This is sort of like, okay, well, who's got the power? This is a tough week to, let's say, for example, job interview, look for promotion, try to get something going in that area. It's okay at the end of the week if you're just trying to sort of get done with regular business and you sort of, keep a low profile and don't push things too much. It ought to be good. Get out of the way of people who are really supercharged and angry because they're going to be, they're going to be feeling it there, and you don't want to feel it. So that's kind of what's going on at the end of the week. Beginning of the week more productive. End of the week definitely more turbulent. Coming into the weekend, it's like the day after turbulence. And then, of course, there is that Scorpio New Moon on Sunday. It is a time to really sort of go deep and be quiet and see what emerges. It's not necessarily one you can go into with any particular intentions. Speaking of intentions, I'll see you next week.